All right, the Ayatollah has rejected Trump's offer. He has sent out a barrage of tweets on X indicating that Iran will not back down. Meanwhile, new reports indicate that Iran is also threatening that any U.S. involvement will lead to, quote, all-out war, as they reportedly are prepping to strike American military bases. Then we're going to talk about Trump's doomsday plane has made an unusual trip, as many fear that the inevitable is now at hand. Meanwhile, we have the latest: Israel blitzes Iran suburb. This is where Ayatollah is allegedly hiding in a bunker. Putin has now gotten involved again, threatening America not to get directly involved in this war. Meanwhile, Erdogan is speaking out again. This is the president of Turkey, a main player in Ezekiel 38 and 39. We got all this, and we're going to give you the latest, and we're going to do some reaction videos as well. So we're going to try to pump out as much intel and information as we can in this podcast. So let's get after it.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, family? It is Wednesday, June the 18th. I know our schedule has been all over the place this week, and that's because we've had things come up. We've had breaking news alerts. We originally was not going to come on Monday night and stream, but we ended up coming on an hour late, and we had an emergency prayer and intercession over the situation that's been unfolding in the Middle East. Plus, my family and I are scheduled to fly out tomorrow. We'll be heading out tomorrow morning, heading to Atlanta International Airport. We'll be flying out to Virginia, where we will spend time with family there. It's going to be really hot, which, again, whatever. It's almost summer, right? But nevertheless, we're going to spend time with our family down there, and we will be back on Monday night. So I'd appreciate your prayers for safety and travel blessings upon us. We're talking about from the time we leave, because I'm telling you guys, if you lived in Atlanta, Metroplex area, anywhere in this region, you'd understand what I'm talking about. It is an absolute journey. It is an adventure, if you would, just to get on the road. Especially anywhere near Atlanta, just to get to the airport is an adventure. And then when you get to the actual airport, it's an adventure. And then you got all the shenanigans of the airport and the airlines. So the good news out of it is we have a direct flight from Atlanta to Virginia. So we won't have to have layovers or anything like that. So it makes it a little bit easier. So nevertheless, again, we thank you. We appreciate your prayers for safety for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to get you updated today. I wanted to get this information out because if I wait till Thursday, it'll probably be already outdated because this stuff is happening so fast and new information coming in that we can only do so much. So we've got some, like I said, we got some reaction videos because we're going to get some other insights from other individuals, some podcasters and so on and so forth. We're going to get all that information to you today. Again, keep this situation in prayer. This is a very volatile situation in the Middle East. Even though America is quote unquote technically not involved in a war with Iran, let's not skirt around this and let's be reasonable here. America is involved. We are supporting Israel. We have been involved, and it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds in the next few days. So before we get started tonight, you know the drill. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. Beneficial to you and I both. And if you don't want to miss any of our content, the best thing to do is download our free app, available on Apple and Android devices. You can pick it up today, hit yes to push notifications, and then you're going to be good to go. It's going to be right there at your fingertips. Headlines, podcast, breaking news, prophecy updates, everything. It's going to be right there at your fingertips. So, guys, if you didn't catch yesterday's podcast, we had Pastor Tom Hughes from Hope for Our Times. We had him in the studio. We did about a 45-minute podcast with him. Great insight. He brought out some things that we hadn't originally talked about or discussed about. He talked about a prophecy out of the book of Jeremiah that he feels like we could see unfolding right now. We talked about Psalm 83. We talked about Gog, Magog, Ezekiel 38, 39. We talked about Isaiah 17, the ruinous destruction of Damascus, the capital of Israel, and how all this could play in, how this could unfold, the scenario, the hypothesis. So if you didn't catch that podcast, I want to encourage you to go to archives here on YouTube or go to our app. It's in our app under watch or listen. You can watch or listen at your discretion. Whatever you'd like to do, it's right there for you. All right, let's get right into this. This is, again, at the time of this recording. So we're right now in my studio. It is 11:05 a.m. Eastern. By the time this airs, it'll be 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. So we've got about 9 hours until this is broadcasted. So things can change. But as of right now, I want to show you this headline. Israel hammers Iranian centrifuge production site, says regime has, quote, crossed every red line. Now, I want to show you this right here from Trump. All right, according to Fox News, President Trump called Iran defenseless. Again, this was this morning, and said that he's still considering whether or not to strike the country. Quote, well, I don't know how much longer it's going to go on. They're totally defenseless. They have no air defense whatsoever. Totally captured, he said. We've totally captured the air, right? Trump told reporters as he took questions. Trump went on to say that he is demanding Iran's unconditional surrender, noting the nation's decades of conflict with Israel and the U.S. Quote, for 40 years, they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, that to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies, and now they're not bullies anymore. But we'll see what happens. Look, quote, nothing's finished until it is finished. I want to say that again. Quote, nothing's finished until it is finished. Quote, war is very complex, he added. Now, I'm going to give you this. We're going to pull this up right here. Again, what we're doing is showing you latest reports. Iran is threatening U.S. involvement will lead to all-out war, as Tehran reportedly prepping to strike American military bases. Iran bluntly threatened the U.S., again, this was this morning, that any involvement in its conflict with Israel would, quote, trigger an all-out war, as Tehran reportedly started prepping missiles for retaliatory strikes on American bases. So, guys, they're now threatening, targeting American bases. Now, remember, Trump said that if they as much as touch a hair on one of our boys' heads, then it was going to be bad news for them. And now they're threatening American bases. Any American intervention would be a recipe for an all-out war in the region. This was according to Foreign Ministry spokesman warned in an interview with Al Jazeera. The Foreign Ministry spokesman stopped short of elaborating, but thousands of American troops are based in nearby countries within range of Iran's weapons. All right, now we got some video here that we're going to share with you so we can get a little bit more insight into this. So let's watch this. Check it out.
Here we go. Israeli jets streaking through the skies over Iran, hammering military targets, including missile launchers and Iranian nuclear facilities.
This as Iran continues firing missiles into central Israel and now warning if the U.S. gets involved, there will be, quote, serious, irreparable consequences.
And Mike Tobin is live in Tel Aviv with the latest for us. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Ainsley. Now, this is a nightly routine, but people here in central Israel were sent running for the bomb shelters in the middle of the night with more Iranian ballistic missile attacks. Two attacks came just after midnight local time. The IDF says some 30 launches of missiles were detected. The missile defense systems did their job. We heard multiple explosions in the sky over Tel Aviv. The IDF says that several missiles did get through, resulting in damage but no injury. Remarkable video from the sky over Jerusalem as a ballistic missile re-enters the atmosphere, creating a fireball in the sky. The IDF says no injuries as a result of that missile either. The IDF confirms one of the drones is down. Iran claims to have shot it down. Israel says no one was hurt, and the wreckage of the drone will not provide an information breach to the Iranians. Iran's supreme leader sent a message over Iranian TV. He refused President Trump's demand for unconditional surrender and threatened irreparable consequences if the U.S. gets directly involved. That was a...
Okay, so there we have it. That Khomeini has responded to Trump, saying Iran will not back down. And again, U.S. bases are now being threatened.
Threat echoed by a top Iranian diplomat.
We are totally ready to give appropriate response. We will start responding to United States.
Israeli fighter jets were busy in the skies over Iran last night. They hit 5 attack helicopters that were on the ground, according to the IDF, as well as hitting production sites and launchers for ballistic missiles. Also hit some key nuclear enrichment sites on the ground in Tehran. The Israeli Air Force now boasts air superiority over Iran, saying that they have badly degraded the air defenses to such an extent they can fly over Iran without much risk of being shot down. Guys, back to you.
So,
incredible.
with the Ayatollah's statements, does that make one think that we should worry about our assets in the region, Michael?
Well, you do see some repositioning of the missile launchers from Iran, which is not entirely clear if they are repositioning to aim at U.S. bases, say, in Iraq or some other locations. But clearly they're making those threats, and the U.S. forces are on alert because of those threats.
Mike, where are those bases in the Middle East?
Well, you have bases in Iraq in particular. You have naval assets in the region. You have U.S. forces that have been in Syria. You have somewhere around 40,000 troops that are.
All right, so look at this: 40,000 troops. Here's all the bases strung out all over the Middle East here. So here's a map right here. If you guys are listening to this by Apple and by Spotify, we're pulling up a map here. I mean, again, he said, what was it, 40,000 troops all across the Middle East. And these are all going to be at risk of being targeted by Iran.
Based in the region here, Ainsley.
And then you got Qatar, too.
Yep.
Mike, just to be clear, the Supreme Leader hasn't offered any type of recommendation of peace or to get back to the negotiating table to try to convince the president that he doesn't want a nuclear weapon, right?
Well, you have heard some Iranian representatives say that they're interested in a return to the negotiating table, but the Supreme Leader, you get more of this bombastic type statements coming out of him.
Yeah. Can you imagine the first time he leaves the country, it'll be in exile? There is talk that to move to Russia.
He could go to Russia. Yeah. Any word on that?
No word on that.
Now to another alert. The Trump administration is weighing options about how to respond to this growing conflict, and this is expected to come up at the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's Senate hearing in just over an hour. Peter Doocy is live at the White House with all the details for us. Hey, Peter.
Good morning. The Ayatollah is saying that he's not going to surrender, even though President Trump has publicly stated that the Pentagon has him in its crosshairs. The president says, we know exactly where the so-called Supreme Leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, kill, at least not for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Trump could order American forces to join the Israeli fight against Iran within the next 24 to 48 hours, according.
There it is. So let me rewind that. I want you to hear this, what he said right here. Check it out. Listen.
Against Iran within the next 24 to 48 hours. Could order American forces to join the Israeli fight against Iran within the next 24 to 48 hours, according to a report by ABC News.
So there's our time frame. So here we are on Wednesday, the June the 18th. So somewhere between Thursday and Friday, I think we're going to know. I think before this week ends, as far as the work week, let's say Monday through Friday, I think before we get to the weekend, I think we're going to fully know whether or not we're going to, quote unquote, actively get engaged in war with Iran. We're talking about troops. We're talking about bombs dropping. We'll get more into detail about this.
President Trump had a call with Bibi Netanyahu after a classified Situation Room meeting about next steps. And the Vice President, J.D. Vance, has a message for people who can't believe President Trump would even think about joining this war. He is saying, I wanted to address some things directly on the Iran issue. First, POTUS has been amazingly consistent over 10 years that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Second, I've seen a lot of confusion over the issue of civilian nuclear power and uranium enrichment. These are distinct issues. Iran could have had civilian nuclear power without enrichment, but Iran rejected that. And of course, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy.
Okay, I want to stop and interject something. I'm going to leave this screen up here for a purpose, for a reason. I knew, guys, if y'all remember, now this is for all of our regular viewers and listeners. You guys that are new, you may not know this or be aware of this, but I'm going to bring something to your remembrance. First of all, in the book of Daniel, we talked about that God sets up kings and sets down kings for his purpose. That's the Bible. You can't argue with that. That's the word of God. So it's God who appoints these people over nations, not just the United States, but every nation where they make elections, where they put people in positions, even dictatorships. This is all God's handiwork, allowing it and permitting it for a greater purpose. Okay? So I knew that when President Trump was running for office and he picked J.D. Vance, who has a military background, we made this statement that it is likely that the reason why God allowed Trump and Vance to win the election is because this is the team that would be needed for the Lord to fulfill purposes in the earth, militarily speaking. And then when that blood moon happened on Purim over America under the Trump administration, I knew right then that sealed it for me. I knew that this administration was going to be directly involved in a war with Iran. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why I said you got to pay attention to this stuff. And this is why we talk about these things that other people don't really, I'm not saying nobody talks about them, but we touch on these subjects that if you're really paying attention to the details, you'll catch this. So I'm not shocked by this. I'm not surprised by this. I will not be surprised if we engage into a full military conflict with Iran. We've seen the writing on the wall. Let's go on.
There is a bulletin crossing the wires right now that says, this is citing Russian state news, that Vladimir Putin reiterates his readiness to mediate between Iran and Israel. We know the Iranians have been back-channeling to the U.S. that they do want to talk soon. We don't yet know if President Trump would bless Vladimir Putin as the peacemaker. Back to you.
Right.
One of the problems, Peter, is that the Israeli-Russia relationship has really soured when weapons turned up with Hamas and Hezbollah in those systems, and they were not a supporter during this conflict since October 7th.
Absolutely. And the rest of the world does not look at Vladimir Putin as somebody who can bring peace. They look at him as an aggressor who started a war in Ukraine and won't end it, even though President Trump has been trying to get him to end it for the last 150 days or so. And so it's very, very difficult. It almost seems like that's too easy. And that this is going to be something where third parties, fourth parties, Middle Eastern partners are the ones who are negotiating this.
Now, this is an interesting point that I want to interject here as well. And that is, notice how they're not coming out and talking. They mentioned the word peace. But now, Pastor Tom and I talked about this yesterday in our podcast that we did together, that all these conflicts, and this is all building momentum, and it's only going to increase and intensify and spread across the Middle East. It's going to put pressure on the international community, the United Nations, all this to demand peace and safety. So I'm not surprised by this. Just like he said, a second party, a third party, a fourth party. Again, world leaders getting involved in pushing for peace and safety. Guys, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 talks about this. Daniel 9:27 talks about this. All of this has to happen. So this is, as nerve-wracking as this is and concerning, it's also, it's just majorly prophetic. And that's why we said, don't be anxious, But no, these things must take place.
To end it, no matter
Yeah,
what
my
happens.
favorite part about this whole thing, Peter, is that the President Putin offered to the president to help negotiate this, to be a part of it. And the president was like, don't you have another war that you should be doing peace yourself?
Yeah,
well, maybe this is how Vladimir Putin finally gets that Nobel Peace Prize.
You can't make this stuff up, guys.
Fox News alert moments ago, Iran's supreme leader vowing to never surrender, threatening any U.S. involvement will trigger an all-out war with irreparable consequences, as Israel needs an American bunker buster, at least one, to destroy the terror regime's last untouched or virtually untouched nuclear facility.
Okay, that bunker buster, Pastor Tom and I talked about that too. America's the only nation that has the possession of this. So we are the ones that have to, if we're going to take this out, Iran's nuclear capability once and for all, we have to get involved. We have to send this bunker buster bomb to go deep down into this facility and wipe this out. So this is why this raises the probabilities of this way up there. Now, we're going to get deeper into this in just a moment, so let's finish this.
Fordo. Our next guest knows all about the Mideast war on terror. Decorated Navy fighter pilot Matthew Wiz Buckley joins us now. Matt, great to see you. Your thoughts about what our role should be to take out Fordo?
Well, good morning, Brian. Thank you for having me. This is literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I am not a big fan of forever wars. Iraq, Afghanistan, some of our other skirmishes, but this is literally a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. In Iraq and Afghanistan, we didn't have an ally that went in and completely decimated the enemy and softened up the battlefield. Iran is blind right now. They have no integrated air defense system. All of their sites are more or less open, and Israel has absolute air dominance. So if the president chooses, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to potentially change the course of history.
You're a Navy fighter pilot, unlike the Air Force fighter pilot that would fly the B-2s or the B-52 or the C-130. Do you believe that this could be a mission that could be completed and Fordo could be destroyed from what you know the bunker buster and busters can do?
100%, Brian. This is exactly what this weapon was designed for, to penetrate deep into the ground. Not to get too technical, but these bombs have different types of fuses and sensors on them to literally go through different layers, whether it's ground or concrete. You just kind of program that into the weapon. And once it reaches its designed or what you set into that bomb, it's going to explode. So fairly certain the Israelis have done a decent job of softening up that target, opening up maybe a little bit of a hole for this M.O.A.B to come in.
How many?
Now, that's mother of all bombs, by the way. That's that acronym. Is it just me? Or does it sound like this has been in the making? It's been orchestrated, planned, and strategic by America and Israel. They knew. I'm telling you guys, this is what I'm feeling on this, and what I read between the lines. They have gone before America, and they've paved the way. Again, he just said it all. I don't want to reiterate all that, but he just made that point. And now the only thing left at this point is Trump. Guys, he's not stupid. He already knew that the Ayatollah was going to respond the way he did. He already knew that Iran was not going to back down. He knew Iran was going to make more threats. So you got to think about this. Trump is faced with a predicament now where he can wait patiently and risk U.S. military deaths. Our men and women in uniform are at risk of being killed because of the retaliatory strikes from Iran. Or within the next 24 or 48 hours, we come in and we put the cherry on the top of this thing and we finish the course. And this M.O.A.B is dropped, and that's the end of the story. This is what it sounds like is very possible and probable to take place in the next 24 to 48 hours.
What do you think we'll need?
Don't want to get too much into that. Let's just say these will get the job done. The current chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Raising Kane, he's an old buddy of mine. One of the reasons President Trump really liked General Kane is because during his first term, he employed one of these massive weapons to take out a mountain of bad guys in Afghanistan. And, Trump kind of said, well, why haven't we done this up to this point? And I think Raising kind of just shrugged his shoulders and looked at some of the higher ranking folks. So one of the reasons I think General Kane is in place today is because he has the skill set and the wherewithal to potentially employ these weapons if the president decides to do so.
And the president doesn't want a ceasefire. He wants a surrender. So let me ask you something. People watching at home go, well, what is our problem with Iran? Maybe we just don't understand the culture. Do you have a different perspective?
These folks really need to study their history a little bit better. I was a teenager when they killed 241 U.S. Marines. Along the way, they attacked the Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia, I believe, and 19 airmen were killed. And then as much as 608 Marines and soldiers were killed by Iranians during operations in Iraq. I don't know what further justification you would need.
Plus, they continue to breathe out threats against Israel and America and the West. It's constant. And we all know, guys, if they were able to have the capacity of a nuclear weapon, they're going to use it. They're absolutely going to use it on Israel and the West. That is a no-brainer.
Killed our Marines. They've killed our soldiers for decades, and we've never laid a glove on them.
All right, guys, we've got another video here. We're going to pull this. This is from News Nation. We're going to get some more information here, so let's check this out.
Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to News Nation, where right and left come to be reasonable, and it is reasonable to see the rise of extremism in our politics and our people. And here at News Nation, we resolve to fight it, not feed it. So here's the moment we are in. I just said I don't think there's any good answer, meaning what? Meaning a perfect answer, meaning a clean answer. Okay? Most of life's most difficult decisions, let alone when war is involved. The region movements could change in terms of their on Israel after they and chance. Okay? Here's the moment. Bombs are dropping on Israel after they launched another assault on the regime in Iran. The region is at war. American air and sea assets are moving and quickly to the region, reportedly to protect troops there. And I don't think many Americans understand how much exposure we have in that region. However, those troop movements could change in terms of their intention. The question is, should it change? President Trump has two questions to answer. They may be the most weighty ones of his administration, maybe of his life. Zero hype. The first question, does America have to stop the regime in Iran from enriching uranium? Yes or no? You could say no and not be absurd, as some MAGA folk on social media suggest. Israel could be left to it. Also, there are plenty of bad actors that have nukes already. Russia, China, Pakistan, North Korea, they all have nukes. And for all the saber rattling, there's been no mutually assured destruction, at least not yet. Now, a no is not a free answer. A no creates risk. Israel doesn't get it done. Or worse, the regime gets a nuke. And once they do, they use it. The counter, well, the other countries haven't used any. True. But no other country openly declares death to America.
Exactly.
That's what the regime in Iran does. That's what makes it special. No other country with nukes is led by a toxic form of Islamism that seeks to annihilate Jews and the West. That's us. That reality takes us to the other answer. Yes, America needs to stop the regime in Iran from enriching uranium. But how? That is the gazillion-dollar question. That's where all the yappers on social media fall short. How? What would they do? Negotiate more sanctions, military? Sanctions and deals and talk have gotten us to this point. That said, there's no indication President Trump is considering what those on the right and left fringe are assuming. Time for boots on the ground. Again, there are reports of American assets moving to the area, but that is likely to defend what we have there already. The likely option, if military action were chosen, would be bunker busters. America has weapons, bombs, that can get where Israel cannot, 300 or more feet down. Why that deep? That's where it is believed the regime is hiding its enrichment facilities. These bombs are so heavy, they need to be dropped with B-2 bombers, specially equipped to handle the load, meaning America would have to decide to bomb inside Iran, okay? This proposition, this choice has MAGA imploding, which was always going to happen. Why? Because all extreme things implode. And within MAGA, you have a mix of extreme agendas that had to come into conflict at some point. Up until now, they've had the left as their enemy. But now, this isn't about the left, this is about themselves. There are too many getting paid to outrage and provoke for profit for things to not come to this. So right now you have in the same group extreme isolationists like Bannon, Tucker Carlson, and some other jokers on podcasts who believe America should just ignore the world. And then you have the hawks from what used to be the GOP, many of whom have shows on Fox. The hawks believe Islam hates us, and America must use her might to fight the good fight as they see it. As if you.
So this is true, guys. This is really happening. There's almost like, some say there's almost a small civil war breaking out among the MAGA. And we've seen it with the likes of Tucker Carlson. You've seen even Candace Owens has chimed in. You've got all these people getting pulled into this. And so it's ugly all the way around. It's interesting to see how all this is going to unfold and what's going to happen if we drop this bomb. That's going to be really interesting.
You can end a faith or kill an idea with force alone. Hasn't worked up till now. President Trump has said Islam hates us. He has also said America should stay out of world affairs. But he can no longer serve both masters. Adding to the problem, both of these extremes within MAGA are toxic and bad for the presidency and the country. My take, this is a moment where the president can step up and move away from MAGA and its extremists. He needs to find consensus and be reasonable, and that means listening to better minds, not minions, and thinking like a uniter, not a divider. Yes, MAGA got him here, but it will not get him where he wants to be. It is time to be for the country. So what to do? I suggest President Trump will conclude the regime must be stopped from enriching uranium, but will not go to direct military action yet. Why? Several reasons. First, too much downside strategically, given we don't know any threat to the United States or its assets in the region is imminent. Yes, Israel is saying it is. I'll get to that. But America clearly didn't think.
Well, and Iran is threatening troops in the military, in the Mideast, and military bases. So again, when this was recorded, those new threats had not been made. So again, that's why we said this stuff, by the time this airs, who knows what'll happen by then.
Think that, as they had no plan to do anything about it militarily, and they were planning to meet with the regime when Israel bombed. Personally, President Trump, Donald John Trump, is not inclined to use military at scale. This was true long before entering politics. He sees no clear reward from our history. Now, you can criticize his lack of moral agency or desire to spread and protect freedom, but I'm not sure that's competent criticism in this context, and regardless, we'd arrive in the same place. Trump is not excited about military force. And yes, I know today he signaled otherwise. Here's the president.
I've been negotiating. I told them to do the deal. They should have done the deal. Their cities have been blown to pieces and lost a lot of people. They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in the mood to negotiate.
The president will be agreeing with the majority, if not all of MAGA. A poll last week found overwhelmingly Americans support not military action, okay? Only 14%. America, in the majority, supports something else.
All right, so most people always say, well, I never got polled in this, so they didn't ask me. So here, now's your chance, guys. If you're listening in the chat, if you support military action, I want you to type out war in capital letters, W-A-R, or just type in war. You don't have to put in capital letters, just type in war if you support military action. If you don't, type peace. So war if you do, peace if you don't. And I'd love to see the results of this in this poll. All right, meanwhile, Russia, according to reports, has warned the United States against even thinking about supporting Israel's bombing campaign. So Putin has come out and vehemently opposed any even thought about supporting Israel's bombing campaign, howbeit carrying out this military campaign to drop this M.O.A.B. in Iran, this bunker-busting bomb. Russia's deputy foreign minister said direct U.S. military assistance is a step that would, quote, radically destabilize the entire situation in the Middle East. Now, this basically echoes what Turkey's Erdogan said when he called Netanyahu's he called him the greatest threat in the region. I'm going to read a little bit of this. Turkish President Erdogan on Tuesday described Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as the, quote, greatest threat to regional security amid rising tensions. Erdogan made the statement during a phone call with Qatar's bin Hamad Al Thani to discuss the Israel-Iran conflict and other regional issues. By the way, guys, he also had a phone call. Let me straighten this out so you can read this. He also had a phone call with Putin, who condemned Israeli actions as well. So let's go back to this. Erdogan said he is intensifying diplomatic efforts to end the spiral of violence triggered by Israeli attacks on Iran. He also warned against allowing the conflict to spread to Syria, and stressed that Israel's actions should not, quote, overshadow the humanitarian crisis and, quote, genocide that Netanyahu's administration has also caused in Gaza. So again, now why is this huge? Because again, these are two key players of Bible prophecy. Putin representing Russia, Erdogan representing Turkey, Russia, Turkey, and Iran. We've said this many times. Three major players of Gog Magog. Now, this is not a war that's going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen next week. Again, there has to be steps to lead us to that fulfillment of that war. But again, these are all stepping stones leading us to ultimately to the fulfillment of all things written in the scriptures. So guys, we wanted to give you this quick update. Again, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section, but we want to leave you with Luke 21:28 on this Wednesday night. And that is when Jesus said, when you begin to see all these things coming to pass, to look up and lift up your heads because your redemption is drawing near. Again, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com is going to be our main website, landing page, bookmark it. Again, pick up our free app. You can get it on Apple and Android devices by going to your Play Store, whatever that looks like for you, or in the description of this video where it says download our free app, you can get it there as well. Guys, again, we want to let you know what we're probably going to do. Again, and I don't even know why I bother even posting stuff like this on Telegram and stuff, because we always change it up. So being that it's 8 p.m. Eastern at the time we record this on Wednesday, or we air this tonight, we're going to take off. Because we was going to take off tonight, but we felt that this was imperative to get this out. So we're going to take off tomorrow, because I'm going to be traveling and doing all this stuff by flight and everything. So let's go ahead and take off tomorrow, and then we'll have a podcast ready for you on Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So again, I want to say that again. So no broadcast tomorrow night, Thursday the 19th. We'll be back on the 20th, Friday night. And this is not going to be, we're going to pre-record this. We're going to record this today. This podcast is going to be, this is going to be nothing to do with the war, nothing to do with the prophecy. What I'm going to talk about is the proper biblical instructions on how to restore a brother or sister in the Lord who has fallen into sin. This is something we need to discuss. What is the proper instructions for us as believers and the church on how to handle these matters, on again restoring a brother and sister who has fallen into sin? We're gonna break it down. We're gonna go into details about this. This will be our equipping message for the week, and again, that will be for Friday night on June 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So, guys, as always, if this ministry blesses you, equips you, encourages you, informs you, all of the above, pray about what the Lord would have you to do. We'd love for you to pray about becoming a partner of our ministry. You can do that 2 different ways, electronically or through check or money order. If you wish to do by check or money order, you can make it out to right on your screen at End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. So, guys, we will sign off for tonight. Again, no broadcast. I wanted to say podcast and broadcast in the same sentence there. So no podcast, no broadcast. We will take a day off tomorrow, and we'll be right back here on Friday. So until we see you then, I pray the Lord bless you, may He keep you, and may His countenance shine upon you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.